turbocharger, aka the Great Leveler. Before turbocharging became commonplace, displacement was king. Bigger cylinders, more power. Then, like a bat out of hell, along came the turbos. Porsche had been deploying turbochargers to great success in the Can-Am Racing Series with the 91710 before, in 1973, the decision was made to strap one onto a road car. And whilst they weren't the first to use the technology, I think it's fair to say that in the years since then, Porsche have become the mark most associated with those 5 characters, that gorgeous script, and that magic word, turbo. For 50 years now, that word turbo has at Porsche transcended mere performance and become a byword for prestige, for luxury, for exclusivity. Even once the GT cars came along, we all know how popular those are nowadays, the turbo has still remained the top of the tree. However, nowadays, even a base 992 Carrera is turbocharged. Porsche have brought that intoxicating boost to cars of theirs which cost, as good as makes no difference, half of what the turbo costs. Which begs the question, have they done enough with this car to maintain its status as top dog? The flat-six motor can trace its roots to the MA2, 3-litre turbocharged engine Porsche fits to the Carrera and Carrera S models, but the similarities soon end there. An increase in bore size from 91mm to 102mm pushes capacity all the way up to 3.8 litres. The charge air cooling system has also been redesigned and now incorporates a larger charge cooler, while an entirely new air intake system features twice as many intakes, 4, than the previous model, increasing the flow of cooler air into the system. The 2 larger variable geometry turbochargers are now mounted symmetrically, with bigger turbine and compressor wheels, by 5 and 3mm, now 55mm and 61mm respectively, inside them. There's also a new exhaust system to improve efficiency when it comes to expelling gases. It all comes together to produce 572 horsepower in the regular turbo. However, this is in fact 992 Turbo S, so that means 641 brake horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, pushing you forward via all 4 wheels and via that silky smooth 8-speed dual-clutch PDK. Now, I am a lucky boy, okay? Because I've driven the 992 Carrera, the stunning Carrera T, the 911 ST, the 911 Sport Classic, and the GT3 RS. I can't. It's far, far, far too powerful for a road like this, a situation like this with the rain and the leaves. Whoa. Red line, 9,000 RPM red line, and I still managed to hit it. So how does this, the Turbo S, compare to those? Well, how long have you got? It's a big question with a decidedly lengthy and complex answer, and I'm going to provide a little bit of context. I've always really liked the 911s that occupy the lower tier, the lower rungs of the model ladder. Of those 992s I just mentioned, it is the Carrera T that for me was the most impressive. Of course, the GT3 RS stuck to the track and propelled me through corners and down straights and threw me into braking zones with a gusto that I really find it rather hard to explain and expand upon, because that car really is gravity defying. It's a breaker of laws. It's a marvel. It is a mechanical marvel. Meanwhile, this The turbo with this gorgeous, I mean, let's call it what it is, perfect 8-speed PDK. 641 horsepower, all-wheel drive. I mean, it's effortless. It's unignorably good from a driving perspective. You really just cannot argue with this car and the way that it seems to just remain so planted. You can lament the fact that these high horsepower turbocharged 911s aren't manual if you want. For me, I'm fine with the PDK. It is the best dual clutch automatic transmission in the world, and it's mated to one of the great engines of the modern motoring era. So for me, I'm very happy with that. The fact of the matter is you haven't been able to buy a manual turbo 911 for years, nor have you been able to buy a rear-wheel drive 911 turbo. Ever since they went north of 400 horsepower, that's it, Porsche said, all-wheel drive. And you know what? It's a great idea. It's horses for courses, and you have to realize that the turbo is here to be a grand tourer. That's what it is, really. It is your eat 1,000 miles up before breakfast kind of car. It just so happens to also be the 911 with the highest horsepower. But that's a bragging thing. That is, like we said earlier, the prestige, the exclusivity, the thing that makes it a turbo with a capital T rather than a turbo with a lowercase t. It's the turbo. Which 911 do you drive? Oh, I drive the turbo. Oh, I get it. You instantly know in that moment what that car is, what it means to the person who runs it, what it's capable of. But really, this is a Grand Tourer, a spectacular Grand Tourer that could eat many other sports cars, supercars, for lunch. It's damn near perfect. So 641 horsepower, sits somewhere between 640, 641, that's the PS to horsepower thing at play. 590 pound-feet of torque and a curb weight claimed 1,640 kilograms. It's a hell of a car, this. The power is unreal. The PDK sharp as a tack. 0 to 60, well, it walks that, doesn't it? 2.7 seconds. The Turbo S has a top speed, wait for this, 205 miles per hour. The fact that I could travel, theoretically, at 205 miles per hour, coddled by this stunning cognac and houndstooth heritage interior. I mean, it's the GOAT, right? This is the greatest sub-brand of any car ever. The Turbo, the 911 Turbo. It's amazing. Rear wheel steer, that is standard, as is the active chassis management. Both things that you might think, oh, well, that's just adding weight to it. Why don't we have those out? And it might be a 2.6 second car to 60. Well, no, you need those things. You really do. Those carbon ceramics, 410 millimeters at the front, 390 at the back. And they're being grabbed by 10-pot calipers at the front. Those things are the size of boomerangs, but I'm glad they are. You might be picking up on a theme. I'm glad this car has all of the active chassis control, the big brakes, the spoiler, all those things. It needs them because they've given this car an unhealthy amount of power. So there you have it, the 911 Turbo S, a fitting continuation of 50 years of engineering and mechanical dominance. There's nothing else to say, really. It's the Turbo. The end.